Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I really need a cool little intro, outro, sign off, sign on like Gauze has. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, we're going to get into Ashiok, Wicked Manipulator. First off, thank you to Webcore, I almost said Octagon, but thank you to Webcore for continuing Octagon's end of their bargain by giving me some of the new exclusive Planeswalkers and cards for me to test and give reviews on. Ashiok, Wicked Manipulator, is the latest Planeswalker to be in the game. It's mono black Ashiok, which is different, but that is because Wizards of the Coast designed it that way. But it would have been cool to have a dual color walker. I think that would have made me like them a lot more. But anyway, that's just my own preference. I know that Nalthazar really likes mono planeswalkers. So anyway, let's get into what they do. And I say they because from what I understand in the lore, they're non-binary. So that's why I say it that way. Anyway, I'm glad that they fixed the passive ability not working because it definitely helps a bit. So it's counting the black sheep. When you lose life during your turn, exile the top card of your library. This card gains the Nightmare Emblem. If that is a black card, you gain life equal to half that card's mana cost. This effect can trigger only once per turn. So this is actually pretty cool, especially when you add Angel of Suffering into your deck, or any of those cards that make you lose life or benefit from you losing life, because a lot of times you end up gaining a lot of that life back plus more. So that's why I like Angel of Suffering. And then if you were to add, Alhammer's Archive into your deck for that too, you're going to get a lot of life returned to you. So kind of cool for keeping your life up. So the thing about the Nightmare Emblems is they don't really do anything other than benefit you toward your other abilities. So we'll get into those. So we got Pulled from Dreams. Pick 2 of the first 4 cards from your library. Fetch those cards. Those cards gain 7 mana. Exile all cards not fetched this way. Those cards gain the Nightmare Emblem. So that's 7 mana, or 7 loyalty. This is by far my favorite ability of theirs. The ability to pick 2 of the next 4 cards from your library and give them 7 mana. At the very least, you're like filling up 2 cards with a third of their mana. And a lot of times, if you build for it, you're going to fill up, there's going to be full mana for some of them, or at least close to it. So it's a nice thing to do to build for this ability in that way. And so those cards that you don't grab get the Nightmare Emblem. So that's another way that you fill up your exile with the types of cards. So create 6 black Nightmare tokens. You may have them gain imminent death. So what do those black Nightmare tokens do? When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, exile the top card of your library. And this card gains the Nightmare Emblem. When this creature dies or loses a reinforcement, you lose 5 life. So if you're not building for that, these creatures aren't very strong. They don't do a lot for you otherwise. And then especially if you're not taking into account the losing 5 life, you can lose life quickly if you have those out on the board. And then so they get weaker and weaker every turn too. So really the main reason, I guess, to use these is to get more cards with the Nightmare Emblem in your exile. What do those Nightmare Emblem cards actually do? Well, it's not until their third ability they do anything, really. Exile the top 10 cards from your library. Those cards gain the Nightmare Emblem. Opposing creatures get -X until the beginning of your next turn. Your opponent loses X life, gain X life. X is the number of cards with the Nightmare Emblem in your exile. So the problem with these abilities for me is that there's not enough ways to get the Nightmare Emblem on those cards in your exile. You just end up using a lot of loyalty for things that don't really do a lot for you. So at the very least, if you just save it for the third ability, you're going to be doing -10 to all your opponent's creatures. I wish it was a permanent -X. That would make it like sort of a poor man's Daxos ability. Your opponent loses X life and you gain X life. -10 to your opponent and +10 life to you isn't that big of a swing in tempo for it to really do a lot for you. So you either have to find ways to gain lots of loyalty so you can spam that third ability to make it really powerful, or just ignore it altogether. And so for the most part, that's what I end up doing. I just usually just, when I'm playing with them, I just spam that first ability pulled from Dreams, because this is by far the most useful ability. Like I said before, being able to fetch the cards you want and giving them a decent amount of mana can really help. So yeah, I would suggest if you pick up this Planeswalker, really thinking about that and kind of ignoring the rest of the abilities unless you have some reason in mind to use them, because they're just not powerful enough for the amount of times you're actually going to be able to use those other abilities within a single match. And they just don't do enough for you to really change the tide. I mean, look at, for example, Liliana of the Veil. Her second and third abilities are devastating. Her first is just pretty meh. Like, if she had this ability, if she had her first ability be this one, wow, she would be like the best mono Planeswalker in the game, maybe. Most powerful and probably scariest to face for sure. But anyway, and we can look at their mana bonuses too. Pretty flat across the board. This is similar to Jace 2's mana bonuses, except you get +5 on black and +4 on blue. And the rest is pretty flat across the board. So if you throw in some blue and black lands into your deck for this Planeswalker, it's not too bad. And let me just show you also really quick the deck that they start with. So here we go. Just for purchasing this Planeswalker, you get the card The End. When this card enters the board, you get a chance to exile a target opposing creature. So if you think of it that way, it's kind of whatever. And that second part where at the beginning of your turn it exiles whatever cards in your opponent's hands are equal to the last creature in their exile. I've never seen that trigger, so I don't know if that's a bug or there's just no real way for me to even know what's going on with that. So since you can't see what's in your opponent's hand, it's hard to tell. So yeah, anyway, Neva, Stalked by Nightmares, is actually a pretty decent little creature, and I'll show you a deck that kind of spotlights that. And then the rest of these cards are just kind of whatever. They're pretty cheap, but they're pretty bad commons for the most part. Blightcaster is interesting. I've yet to try that with Rat Swarm tokens, but it might be okay. I don't know. That's something for me to think about. So anyhow, that's my breakdown of their abilities. And let's get into some of the decks that I have crafted for them. All right. Okay, so the first deck I'm going to show you is basically a peasant deck, and it's mostly got cards from the new set. We got Tangled Colony, which will create Rat Swarm tokens. It's basically a rat deck I'm more or less making here. Because we also got Lord Skitter's Blessing, which will create Rat Swarm tokens. And then Voracious Vermin, who benefits from Rat Swarm tokens being destroyed, as well as Neva, Stalked by Nightmares. She's actually a pretty good card in this deck because she fetches a lot of cards for you. Really good to control your library. You kind of know what's coming up next in your deck, and you can choose from one of the two cards that you get. So, and she can grow to a decent amount. And so, yeah, the rest is kind of just control. This is kind of a bit of an underrated card. When the support enters the board, gain control of target opposing creature until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. If you get this out at the right time, you can take advantage of some of the things that your opponent has for a turn. And then it benefits from being destroyed. So that's also okay. So yeah, and then the rest are control cards. Taken by Nightmares is a new one. Exile target creatures. And you get also an added benefit of being able to possibly fetch a card you want. And then Shieldred's Edict, destroying Vanguard, or untargeted destroy. And then Voldaren Estate is there for the loyalty gem, so we can get to use their abilities quicker. And then Ariet's Whisper is a card I'm really enjoying for black. Your opponent discards the first 2 cards from your hand, or from their hand, and then target creature you control gains Wicked Roll. So 2 really good effects in one. So I'll show you how it goes. Okay, so we got some good creatures. I think I'll put down Neva first. Get our land down. Don't really want her around. There we go. Got ourselves a kill spell ready for when we need it. 2 creatures with Wicked Roll. Not bad. So you saw the passive ability trigger there. When you lose life during your turn, exile the top card of your library. This card gets the Nightmare Emblem. That's a black card. You gain life equal to half that card's mana cost. This can only trigger once per turn. So we can look at our exile and see what has the Nightmare Emblem. 3 things with the Nightmare Emblem. So that's pretty cool, right? Every time a Rat Swarm token gets destroyed, I get to fetch a card. So I'm going to actually let the Tangled Colony hit that guy just to create more rat tokens. So that'll create 8 of them because he had 8 power, so we took 8 damage. Okay, I'm not too worried about this yet. Fetch a card. Wicked Roll, pumping up my creature. So I'll use 3rd ability, gets rid of that. So that means we had 15 cards with the Nightmare Emblem in our exile. See if we get the Voldaren Estate down so we can get more loyalty to ramp back up into his 3rd or their 3rd. Get some life back thanks to the nice little passive. This might be game right here, actually. Close. Okay, well, we didn't get to the 3rd ability. But can do some fun stuff anyway. Just for a laugh. And there we go. So not the most powerful deck or anything, but you got to see some of the fun things you can do with some of the lower cost, lower rarity new cards. So let's move on to some more fun decks. All right, in this deck we've got Oona, Queen of the Fae, brand new card, one of my new favorites. Great effect. When you make a blue or black match by swap, so it has to be by swap, exile the top 5 cards of your opponent's library, then create a fairy token for each color among cards in your opponent's exile. Gain mana equal to the number of cards in your opponent's exile. So even if you're not continuously exiling your opponent's graveyard, making those blue or black matches, you can pump up the amount of mana you get every time. So it just really keeps feeding itself, and it stacks up really quickly. To take advantage of some of that, we got some lands that convert gems to blue and black, so we get more of a chance of hitting that. We got Unlicensed Hearse, which will just get better and better the more blue and black matches you make. And then it also can help to exile your opponent as well. Jaleva will exile cards, but it moves them to ours. But she's really there for the spell casting and pumping up the Unlicensed Hearse. Then everything else is just some control. And then Necrogem Communion is good in case Oona gets removed from the battlefield. We can just bring her right back. So some decent little synergy here, but it's really kind of an Oona showcase. So let's go ahead and get that going. Okay, what do we got? All right, gonna get Oona soon. Glad we don't have to fish for her with our first ability, though we can. Get a nice Void Rend ready, just in case. Let's see what's on the board. Okay. Playing with some lands. That's fine. Get rid of some of these nasty cards. Get some mana as well. Get Wicked Roll onto our fairies to pump them up. Get Invoked Spare down for some card draw. Time reversal, I see. Interesting. Well, it's probably not going to matter too much. Getting 17 mana extra on top of our blue matches now, so that is awesome. Pretty big fairy stack now, but let's get Jaleva. Well, let's get Hearse down first, actually. And I think this should get Jaleva down as well with full mana. Yeah. So we get the Unlicensed Hearse, put it on our fairies, and this should be enough to win. If I hit Not Now, trigger it, yeah. So that's typically how that deck goes. And yeah, it's just pretty basic. Get Oona down, start having her get mana into all your cards, and then win with the Jaleva Hearse combo. So let me show you one more deck that I think is really fun. It's got a lot of synergy, and I think it takes more advantage of their passive ability. So I'm excited to share with you that. Okay, this deck is built mainly around Rowan and Angel of Suffering, because Rowan, when you take damage or lose life, increases card's level by the amount of damage taken or life lost. At the beginning of your turn, reduce the cost of black or red cards in your hand by X until end of turn. X is this card's level, then this card's level becomes 1. So there are a lot of cards in here that help us do that. We got the Stronghold Arena, which is gonna make you lose quite a bit of life depending on what card you grab. That at least helps Rowan to basically make all of the cards in your hand free. Gristlebrand helps with that too, because you lose 7 life, so that carries all the way over until the next turn. So that 7 life lost will translate into a reduction in card cost for your next turn. Demonic Tutor, pretty decent fetch card, but it also makes you lose life, so that's also going to help. So whatever you grab with the Demonic Tutor, Rowan will make even cheaper. And then Angel Suffering, of course, has the bonus of destroying your library. So Portal to Phyrexia will bring cards that you put into your graveyard back into play. And then Ariad's Whisper is just a really good card because it's good for control. And then we got Invoke Despair, Void Rend, and Snuff Out to take care of the rest of anything that might make us unhappy. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, get our Angel down. Demonic Tutor. Grab Gristlebrand. So not only are we gaining life back with their passive ability, but Angel of Suffering makes it that we don't lose any of the life permanently to begin with. So it actually helps to heal us. Oh, well, I'm actually completely fine with that. I actually don't care if she attacks or not. I'd prefer she doesn't, actually. Keep her on board longer. And that sucks. Well, at least we get a portal. Yeah, not a lot of people use Jeru and Hazoret, but that's a solid card. Let's get the portal out first, actually. See if we can grab some kill spells with their first ability. Thank you for locking my Angel down. Helps me stall for time. Don't think I need Stronghold. We're going to get a Rowan, so that'll be nice. Void Rend to take care of all that. Gosh, any color matches? Okay, that's fine. All right. Here we go. You're done. You too. Stronghold Arena. And start to lose life. Okay, that's good. We want Portal to Phyrexia to do that for us. Let's see if we get to keep Will or keep Rowan. Yeah, sweet. So everything in our hand will get reduced. Well, I don't know why Portal to Phyrexia. Oh, because it's not a black or red card. That's the only thing. It won't reduce colorless cards. So be careful when playing with something like a lot of cards that are not black or red when you're using Will and Rowan. Or keep calling her Will and Rowan when you use Rowan. So anyway, Oh, they're playing with will. Okay. Well, thankfully I have a lot of ways of dealing with their side of the board in this deck, so not terribly worried about it. Oh, save that. Ariet's Whisper. Oh, no. Oh, did it? Okay. Destroyed one of the enchantment supports because I said not now to the creature kill. That's good to know. Dang it. Well, we could just bring her back with our portal. Oh, where is she? Guess I had a lot in my grave to bring back, but with the portal down, I'll bring back my side of the board fairly easily. Got Rowan, good. So reducing our hand by 38 is going to make sure most of our cards are playable that turn. So all these things, fetching cards from our library, bringing back a full hand to start, and then Rowan will just continuously reduce our casting cost on all these. So lots of fun synergies there. Then we just slowly build our side of the board. Maybe I'll just go to their third ability, speed things up a bit. But yeah, Gristlebrand giving us life back as well with lifelink. Also helps to make sure we never get too far down in our hit points. So this is game even without having to get to the third ability. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, a lot of synergy there. You could see a lot of things happening, but they all work well together. So that's probably my favorite deck that I built with Ashiok so far. For the most part, I just spam their first ability. I don't even bother with the second. I just don't think it does enough for you for the amount of loyalty it takes. I wish, aside maybe from their first ability, because the first ability is really good, I wish the other two didn't cost as much loyalty as they did. I mean, they're not like a crazy amount of loyalty needed for either one, but for what they do, I don't think they're really worth spending a lot of loyalty on. I think you're better off just continuously using that first ability to get the cards you want. Yeah, and don't even really bother with the rest, except maybe the third to either speed a win up, or if you really fell back in a hole, it'll help you kind of recover from that a bit. But nothing to really need to build around, which is all right. Like, you don't necessarily, I mean, I personally like Planeswalkers that their abilities are fun to build around, but the abilities for Ashiok are mostly independent of any set. So I think that they'll be a little bit more evergreen of a Planeswalker than some other ones, but overall, I think I'd give them a B. The fact that they're mono black kind of limits their usefulness in a lot of things, but just being a kind of a solid all-around walker, I probably put them on the level of a Jace too. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is there anything that you're excited to try out with them? Or are you gonna skip them? Or maybe plan on picking up during the holiday sale? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.